Hi, and welcome to Crutchfield Farm. And today I just felt compelled to talk about one of my favorite North American snakes, and one that is misunderstood, and to be frank with you, there's a lot of just lies told about him. And that is the cottonmouth, or water moccasin, or moccasin as some people call them. They have a lot of different common names. Basically, there are three kinds of cottonmouths or moccasins. There's the eastern and the western cottonmouth, and then there's the Florida cottonmouth. The cottonmouth up underneath this plastic box right here is a Florida cottonmouth, and it's a dark one. It's very black, but some of them might have bands and more markings than this particular one does. So let's talk about cottonmouths.
So this friend, we were right here, out of the road. I know, look at, see? It's alright. Not chasing, not attacking, not stinging. Mostly just scared.
All the pit vipers in the world that I've handled, including big bushmasters and fertilants and even Mangshan vipers like the ones behind me there, the cottonmouth is probably one of the least offensive of any big pit viper out there in the world, much less just here in North America. For instance, a copperhead or a rattlesnake of almost any species is twice as likely to bite you as a cottonmouth in just an accidental encounter. Like all venomous snakes, if you scare it or hurt it in any way, it'll defend itself, and the bite is venomous and potentially lethal, although fatalities are very rare this day and age. There is a lot of tissue damage when they bite. But overall, they're a pretty gentle snake. You can see the one in the box here. Now this snake will respond to whatever I do, and I want you to watch the snake closely. As long as I'm sitting here quiet like this, the snake won't do anything. But if I put my hand down here abruptly, especially if I tap on it, well, in this case, this one's so calm, I don't think it even cares that I did that. But under normal conditions, if this were, say, a fresh cottonmouth, and it is wild caught, but it's not a fresh wild caught, it would, if it gets scared in any way, tapping on the box might do that. It would change its behavior drastically too, into a more defensive mode, as opposed to, can definitely move this box by itself. Also with cottonmouths, a lot of the encounters with cottonmouths, as I said also earlier, are really water snakes, not cottonmouths. And even some of the cottonmouth encounters where it is an actual cottonmouth that is swimming toward the boat, or if you are walking on the land and it flees to get away from you, most people, when they see that, they misinterpret the behavior they're seeing as being aggression from the cottonmouth. And for instance, if there's a boat or a canoe out floating in the river, it would be very common sense and commonplace to see any cottonmouth going anywhere. You would, if the boat's right there, he would get out of the water on the boat because he wants to check it out. Usually when they're moving like that, it's either for sex or it's for food, some basic biological drive. So, and even if the snake runs sort of towards you or even towards you, does not mean that the snake has intention to bite you, or in fact will bite you at all. If I have probably literally seen at least 100,000 wild cottonmouths, mostly easterns and Floridas, but I said earlier this is one of my favorite snakes in the whole world, and certainly here in Florida it always ranked up there for me. And basically it's because I had so much experience with wild ones. When I was in high school, there weren't many jobs around to have, and so I caught literally cottonmouths for a summer job and sold them to Snakeatorium in Northwest Florida, in Panama City Beach, Florida, for 50 cents a foot. And I didn't have a car, so I had friends that had cars, and they didn't want anything to do with snakes, but they would supply the car and the gas, and they would take me around, and they would help carry bags of snakes and so forth. And we hunted them in the dry season and throughout the summer. And on a good night in the dry season, I think our record was over 200 cottonmouths in one night. Basically, we could have caught more. There's no way to carry more than that. And if you think that a regular job at that time, with me loading watermelons or working in the tobacco barns, paid 50 cents an hour. This is in the 1960s, early 60s. A 3-foot cottonmouth, if I caught it, I'd get $1.50 for. And if I caught 20 of those in a night, that was better than working any job, and I was having fun at the same time. So I really grew to love cottonmouths. I studied them, I learned where they lived and how they lived, and I still love them today. And the biggest purpose of this video is to dispel some of the myths, rumors, and just lies about this poor snake under this box here. First thing is, cottonmouths do not chase humans. They don't. The snakes that people say drop in the boats or swim up to the canoe and get into the canoe would be 90% of them water snakes, because that's what water snakes do. Cottonmouths don't. Cottonmouth is more laid back and more apt to remain hidden near the shore than a water snake. A lot of cottonmouths, you can find them in bushes and trees over the water, but it's a rare event to do so, at least in North Florida. And that's where I had the most of my experience. And these snakes don't chase people. Also, the story about a guy water skiing, falling into a nest of quote-unquote moccasins, and hearing him scream and writhing in a big nest of snakes, literally in the middle of some made-up river. And that nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, for one thing, snakes don't stay in the middle of the river. The current's pretty strong, and they wouldn't even stay in the middle of a swamp because they have no place to hide, and they don't build a nest. They have living young. You might see more than one cottonmouth together, but only because they're gregarious animals, and if it's good habitat for one, it's good habitat for others. And if you go back at night, you'll find that in the drying up pools with the fish and the frogs and the other snakes around the water, all the cottonmouths gather in those holes to feed on the food. But it's not a nest of cottonmouths. It's just a place where cottonmouths happen to be because of biological conditions around them. It's an easy place to get food. So let's dispel that too. And these snakes are really one of the most misunderstood venomous snakes on the planet. A copperhead is probably twice as likely to bite you as a cottonmouth, and yet everyone makes up all these outlandish stories about this snake. So I'm going to take the top off this snake here, and we'll see what he does. I don't think she's going to do too much, but let's see. And you can see, as long as I'm pretty gentle with her, she's not going to try to bite me. I don't even have to stand up. My hand, I'm a tree. Snakes don't bite trees. Be a tree. And she's sitting on my hand. Okay, well that's all, folks, for today. But I want you to remember we're going to be putting out another video coming up soon. And soon, I don't know if it's the next one or not, but we're going to be putting up a video about the fantastic animals behind me. The Mangshan vipers. The biggest pit viper in the old world, reaching a length of about 8 feet. And we'll talk about them later. Thank y'all for listening in. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Get it out here without too much trouble. Come out here. Yeah. That's cottonmouth, dude. If I don't do anything to it, it won't do anything to me. And cottonmouths do not chase people. Not ever. Go back in. You see what I'm saying? It's not just that, it's not just that, it's not just them. It's how that you treat them. And understanding. If I don't make it upset, it's not going to try to harm me in any way at all. But if you scare it, it'll bite the shit out of you. I promise you.
And in his mouth, cottonmouth. Now look at the fangs. A little hard to see. Tell me that that is not just a crazy animal. They curl up perfectly like that. He's actually on these roads to thermoregulate. Like I said, they're cold-blooded. But man, I don't know how you cannot say this creature is just not beautiful. It's a crazy defense. Curl up, look as big as you can. Awesome creature.